it down?
We have one cable coming from the belfry down into the ringing room. And then from a wooden box in the ringing room, we run cables to each of the 4 PCs. So one serial interface, each one of the 4 PCs.
Okay, who built that?
Derek. Well, the box, I think, did that come from Chris Bagley? I think Derek built it.
David.
And I'm sure he'd be willing to share all the stuff that he did. He'd be happy to do that.
So
He should write an article for the Clapper on that.
He did.
That's it. You did? Okay, and I missed it, right? All right. I'll go look.
well, wasn't it in an area report? Was there an actual article?
I think there was an article. Wasn't there, Kathy? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
I don't know, because I just remember there being an area report about it, but there may be. So when we're done at some point, I have several photographs that Charlie had sent me in 2020, but right before the pandemic, of various components of their thing. And I'll put them on Dropbox and send all of you a link if you want to see, so you can like see how they have the laptop set up and stuff.
Can you share it on your, can you pull them up and share screen right now?
There are a lot of, it'll take too much
Okay.
time. There's several, and I think it'll probably be clearer if to people just look at them. If there's time, we can, because we could, in theory, go for longer than an hour if we want, but so I have some of those.
Derek is traveling this weekend, so he couldn't make it to the AGM. But if we had I'm sure what we could do is set up a Zoom call that's specific for this area. If you wanted to talk with him about the stuff he did, we could do that.
That's a good idea, because then with somebody's whatever, you can show stuff as you talk about it. Also, well, I don't know, is he allowed in the tower?
We could probably, all I'm saying is we can take the materials that we've already gotten and we can walk through that with people rather than.
Got you, with the share screen. Yeah. Got you.
You could find out whether he would be allowed in the tower. We were in the tower. Derek and I were in the tower on September 11th, the two of us. So and the rector was in the building and they let us in. So it's not like you just can't go in the tower.
But they don't really have a very good internet connection from the tower, so it's probably not ideal for a Zoom call, but we should be able to set up something where we can have get people who are interested, who want to hear about it, want to hear things in more detail.
That'd be really nice, actually. I think I would enjoy it in any event. And it sounds like Alan might also.
Yeah.
So 2 people at least. So Alan, what was your question?
So my question, well, first of all, anyway, my question is this has to do with our not quite complete tower simulator setup. We got it to the point to where we could ring a bell and we could make the signal get down to the computer and it would respond. But the challenge was that there was a delay of like 2 seconds between when the bell was striking and when it showed up on the computer simulator. And I'm sure there's a timing parameter that I need to try to find and adjust. And that's and since I haven't been up to the tower to work on the simulator since before March 2020. We were busy doing other maintenance for a while, and then we're out ready to get back in and do that. So I would like to solve that problem, because other than getting all our sensors fastened down, they're all up there. We just get them fastened down. We would be able to, I think we'd fully commission our tower simulator. But that's the question, if anybody knows about that. Otherwise, I'd probably just need to go up there and put both Chris Hughes and David Bagley, say, I may call you from my belfry.
Okay, so you have first question, you have wired sensors as opposed to wireless sensors.
We have wired sensors, yes.
Okay, there is enable a delay. You can change the delay, enable.
Yeah, but
by individual bell.
My memory was that the delay that I found to change ended at like 500 milliseconds. So I had no way to
Right.
fix a 2-second delay.
Yeah, 2 seconds sounds as though something is kind of more wrong than just the normal
Right.
parameters,
That's
normal
right.
adjustment.
Yeah, that's kind of what
Um,
I thought. And I guess I'm gonna have to go up and take more measurements. And to be honest, David did, I'm sorry, Chris
Yeah.
gave me one additional parameter to check, and I didn't check that one before we stopped working on the simulator. So I'll do that and see if I can deal with it. So it was just something I'd had, and I was wondering if anybody else had the
Yeah.
problem. So thank you, Tim, for knowing that it does sound pretty weird.
Yeah, I mean, 2 seconds is sort of a whole rotation of the bell. So that's almost like it's on backwards or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So once you work it out, you have to let us know what the solution is also.
Sure.
Yeah.
I did
go
want to
ahead.
comment about what we were doing here with simulators, because we have a couple different things going on. May I?
Mhm.
Okay, so I have a simulator on this computer, and even before lockdown, I was using it to try to learn practice methods rather. And I'm telling you, that worked very well. And now I use Ringing Room and Able, and I will say that one thing that's really nice about Able that's not currently available in Ringing Room is that you can make your own compositions. And on Ringing Room, I don't use the standalone version of Wheatley and CompLib. I'm hoping at some point CompLib access will be built into the online version of Ringing Room. But right now, I can build a touch in Able, and I can ring it, and I can have Able call the bobs if I want to do that.
Mhm.
So I found that to be useful. And the other thing that I found to be very useful to track my progress in learning a method, I adjust the speed that I'm going, and then I go back and look at the striking report and see how awful it looks, or maybe even just the striking score. So that's also something else that's not yet available in Ringing Room. So it's part of how I track my progress.
Mhm.
And in the tower, what we hope to be able to do is I have at least one ringer who's eager to go up there and learn methods with nobody else to bother her except the computer. And, so we're hoping we can just, silence one bell and she can go up there and ring by herself. We currently only have one computer up there, but that's why I was asking about the others. So that's a little bit how we use ours.
I'm curious whether anybody uses the version of Able that has the pictures of the ringers actually ringing when they're using the
Yes,
simulator.
Yes,
I could talk to that. So I've actually got a 20-second YouTube clip. I don't know if I could share it to the group, but it probably explains it better than I would be able to. Do I have permission to share the screen, Quilla, or is that something that you have to do?
I think Tom
try
is-
it. I think you do, but if not, I can make
Um,
that happen.
Yeah.
Yep, it's there.
There we
Right.
go.
Okay.
Yeah, see it.
So I don't think you can hear the sound.
If you share, there's an option when you share to share the sound as well. So if you want to stop sharing and look for that option.
Right. Okay.
might-
So
or-
I've got to
It's a little
figure out-
checkbox usually, I
That's
think, in the
right.
lower left.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got to find the stop sharing button. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
right at
Got
the
that.
top.
That's up there. Right. So just talk me through that again.
Well, when you do the share screen and you pick which
At the
screen you wanna
bottom,
share
at the
and-
bottom of, you
Got
click
it.
share, and at the bottom, yeah, got
Yep.
it.
Got
Bottom
it.
left.
Yep.
And actually, there's also a checkbox for optimize for video clip. So I guess I should check that as well. We'll give it a try.
New territory
What's
for
it?
me.
See what
We'll
happens.
find out what it does.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just going to play it. It's about 20 seconds. Shout if it isn't working. or
Make it
something.
full screen
Uh,
if you can.
He actually picked his whole desktop to share rather than that particular thing. Oh, that'll work.
oh,
That'll work. No,
That'll
this is
work, yeah.
fine. This is big.
yeah. Actually, let me just redo that. Yeah. So I know what I did wrong there. So I'm just going to right. So let me do that again.
This is a lot like
Yeah.
working with the simulator. You spend a lot of time.
Right. There we go. That's probably better. So I just shared the
Yes.
window rather than the
Great.
whole thing.
Great.
Okay, I'm going to play it. It's 20 seconds.
Yep.
All right. Cancel. Stop sharing.
That one looked like it was 6 clones of the same guy.
Right.
Well,
So
Yeah.
I
you can
have
do
used-
different people.
Yeah.
Yes. So I guess so a couple of things. So one of the things that's slightly different is we don't use sensors. So the bells that were being rung are actually the real bell sound of the bells. So there's no silencing of the bells. We've then installed a sound system in the tower that is good enough to replicate the same sort of volume and quality of the sound of the real bells. And then what we did was to record samples of all of the bells in New York, and you can load your own custom bell sounds into Able itself. So in other words, if you were standing outside the tower listening, you would only hear the 2 bells that are actually being rung, and then all the other bells are only heard inside the tower. Now that doesn't affect us. We have very good sound control. So we, on a practice night when we're using the simulator, we just close all the sound controls so you don't hear anything outside. But the advantage is we don't have to, be tying and untying bells all the time. So it makes it very quick to switch from a simulator practice to a real practice. And yeah, and having the big TV in front of the ringers, the idea there was to encourage people not to just solely learn to ring by the rhythm. That is a risk when you practice with the simulator. The robots are exactly where they should be all the time, and you can retreat into a kind of a rhythm-only mode of ringing. And then when you get to ring with real people who are not completely rhythmic all the time, then you can struggle. So I think having the moving ringers in front of you, as well as the sound component, it lets you, especially when you're teaching people, you can kind of point to the individual people that they should be ringing over, as well as getting them to build up, their sense of rhythm. So, yeah.
And again, this is something that's used in some of the ringing centers in England, and it requires sufficient funds to, and space to have a big screen and stuff, certainly. So not all of us can do that. But, and I'm going to comment for people who use Able on desktops, the moving bodies feature you could use on a desktop, except it doesn't work. So it's got the delay, you get a real delay problem, because in theory, even if you could sit at your PC and ring with other people, that'd help, but it doesn't work. So that's just FYI.
That was my question, because I've used Bell Tower, and it was the delay with the people ringing that I could never fine tune it down.
Yeah,
so.
For some reason, it is just.
So say that again, Quilla. Which bit doesn't work on the desktop?
Okay, so if I enable moving bodies, or whatever it's called, and try to ring with it, it is the point the point at which it sounds relative to your keystroke is so late that you cannot use the rope sight at all. And you can't adjust that. This is not the kind of delays that you can adjust have to do with connections to external bells. There isn't sufficient when you're just using the keyboard. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah. So I guess it wants you to press the key roughly at the same time that you would pull the rope, and then the actual sound
No,
comes.
that's the problem. It isn't at the same time you pull the rope.
Right.
It's got to be, you have to be pressing the key
when it
sooner than you would be pulling the rope. Like, I mean,
wow.
is my recollection. I haven't done it in so long, but my recollection is like, if I'm ringing in fourth place, I probably would have to be pressing the key about when bell number 1 rings,
Right.
is moving.
Okay.
I say rings, but you know, the timing. And so I would try to get it right by closing my eyes and then, you know, open them and see. And it seemed, I think logically, one can probably do it, but there's something about it that it's just so much longer than normal that it is really hard. So if anybody wants to spend time trying to figure it out and gets it, that'd be great. But I know I couldn't get it.
Do you know how long that delay is in general? I mean, I'm sure it varies from larger bells to smaller ones. When you begin your motion
Well,
downward?
it's almost the full circle of the bell. So it's close, you know, if we say it takes 2 seconds, it's going to be close. I don't know, it must be close to 2 seconds because it sounds as you catch it for the next pull.
Right, right.
So I should ask Chris, welcome. You arrived a little bit late and we had gone through to see if people had any specific questions before we got into sort of talking about everything. Did you have a specific question?
Well, as a guy who has rung heavy bells here and there around the world, I noticed that long delay, but I was able to cope with it because there are times when I have to pull off a heavy bell, when I have to begin my pull before the light bells start to ring, before they start to pull. And
yeah, did you have a question that you wanted people to talk about? Some
yeah,
topic?
well, you know, it's the usual question. What is the magic answer?
Okay,
We have a
22.
We have the beginnings of a simulator in Rochester that came with our automatic chiming mechanism. We have the ability to strike some bells while others, actually we can't strike the bells while others are ringing because they're locked out from each other. But so we would need sensors and also the simulation. I think we probably need the whole works, come to think of it. I don't think anything we have is going to be directly useful in implementing simulation. But I'm here because we're interested in simulation and we just haven't really gotten it underway. And I know the technology is getting better and better. And I'm pleased that Chris Hughes is on the track with us and getting Able ready for the middle of the 21st century.
In what way is he doing that?
Well, I'm just hearing that he's been improving Able, making it more capable with, I really don't know. This is here to find out. So, okay, that's my question. What is Able part of the answer?
Well, okay, so there may be just different people may have different views. So the quick answer is right now, yes. However, so we've been talking mainly about simulators with existing rings of bells. We touched on dumbbells with Tom's farthing bell that Linda's interested in and that you need space for. And that again is something that is used in some of the ringing centers in England, but many of us, you know, we don't have room in our homes or whatever. And there is a recent development about which there was an article in the August 13th Ringing World of a new dumbbell that is not really a dumbbell, it's a motor that
Yes,
allows you.
I saw that article.
Okay, that allows you to ring and to set it to behave as different weight bells, among other things, so that you can set it to be presumably, you know, a 200 weight bell or a 4,200 weight bell.
Yes.
And one of the things, and the reason this comes up partly with your question is that a question is, or a thought is that we need 21st century software to go with it. It works with the existing 20th century software, which is able, but the view that probably, you know, there are people out there right now who are about 15 who could write the right software to really go with this. And it's really neat that there's I mean, it's something that because of the pandemic, the engineer whose name is Adrian West developed this. There is a website that I can put it in the chat that has information, including a video that shows it and stuff, that it's just a neat thing to see. So that's sort of, you know, is it the future of simulators? Is it the future of dumbbells? It's bigger, it's heavier than the existing dumbbells, you know. It weighs around 260
Oh,
pounds.
no.
Whereas there's an older style dumbbell called the Saxelby that I think is around, that weighs less, about half, is it half that? Nah, it's around 180 pounds, you know, so there are different things going on. And Tom, how much does yours weigh? I forget.
Probably what altogether, well, less than 100 pounds, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, but there are things like that going on. So let's see, let me do this.
Was there any pricing information on this?
No,
new
because he
dumbbell?
has just done it for him. I mean, he kind of did it as a this will keep me from going crazy
Right,
during the pandemic.
right.
Now, Tim, so he's not manufacturing it and stuff, but he has all the plans and things. And I don't know, Tim, do you have any? I don't think we have anything like that at this point.
No. No, I think as you say, he's built one as basically a prototype. He now plans to, you know, demo it to a few people. There'll probably be iterations of it that sort of get progressively better. It certainly isn't going to be cheap because it's using heavy duty servo motors, I believe. So it's probably going to be, you know, thousands of dollars rather than hundreds of dollars. But whether that can come down if enough of them are manufactured and you know, people want to buy that sort of number, possibly that will happen. But it will be a sort of a higher end simulator compared to, you know, just building something with an actual rotating wheel and a mass.
Yeah, it really would be made. It'd be the kind of thing that would be really good if you had a ringing center, which I keep referring to, which happens in England, and would be lovely to have here, except we don't have the population density in the population to make it possible, probably. So I put the link to the site about this in the chat if people.
I actually have a bit of news on this one. So one of the fellows that I ring handbells or two bell handbell ringing with in Northampton is he's a tinkerer. He creates things, and he's now working with the gentleman from up north that put this together, and he's trying to figure out if there's a way to implement this where it is much cheaper and much less industrial. So it's a project he's just started thinking about, but he has begun collaborating. I'm sorry, I don't remember the gentleman's name who invented this, but
Adrian West.
Adrian, yes, that's right. So I'm just saying there may be something that comes out of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think there probably are other people who are thinking about it, at least having seen it, you know, and having, because in addition to the initial article about it in the website, Simon Linford, who among other things is currently the head of the president of the Central Council, visited and tried different things and has written about the experience that it really, and he, of course, well, I shouldn't say of course, but he is experienced, you know, ringing heavy bells and light bells and ringing very well. And he said it really feels like you're ringing a heavy bell when you set it for that. So it's a quite, I mean, it's one of these exciting futuristic things, except that it shows real possibilities.
Yeah, and if there's somebody who's collaborating to bring the cost down, that could be very beneficial if that project succeeds.
His name is Alan Fayers, F-A-I-E-R-S, Fayers in Northampton.
Okay. So he's a ringer at Northampton?
I don't know exactly what, oh, he's in Pattishall is where he rings.
Is he A-L-A-N or your kind of Alan?
He's the right kind of Alan, A-L-A-N. I'm the oddball.
Okay.
Cool. I had something totally different about simulators, but I want to mention.
Great. Yeah.
So Tim mentioned doing custom sounds, and I did something like that. I recorded myself just kind of singing the pitches and numbers together. So down the scale. Okay. So I had separate recordings for each number, and then I put that into Able. And what I am prone to do is switch the sound. If we have a visiting ringer, I'll switch the sound. So, and we pull off the bells, and instead of hearing bell sounds, you hear me singing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, something like that, right? And what always happens is people start laughing at it, and then as soon as the laughing dies down a bit, the striking gets much better because they are counting. They have no choice but to count. So that's a good tool. And then I told Chris Hughes about it, and then he put in something where you can. There's a setting where Able will speak the bell number.
Right. Yeah. No, that's what I was going to say.
Which I think is terrific. You know, I think that helps a lot.
And it will also emphasize the bell you're ringing. I believe. Yeah. I think so. You know, if you're ringing, if you're supposed to be in seconds place, it will say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like a ringer should be doing, I think.
Right.
This is in regular A bell?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Now, one of
Didn't know that.
Yeah, it's one of the I forget what it must be, a sound option.
I'm gonna look for it. I think it's
I forget.
It's under ringing, under the ringing menu, I believe.
Okay.
Cool. I've never heard that in Able, but believe me, I'm doing that myself for everything I've ever rung. I was shocked.
Oh
to
yeah,
discover
it's under
everyone didn't.
ringing. So speak
Yeah.
numbers, and the options are speak bell numbers, speak bell places, speak user bell place, speak place bell. So you can experiment with them.
Yeah.
And on the sound thing, I know that in Shreveport, I believe Edwin loaded this. They have some really bizarre sounds. So, you know, I can't remember. Do you remember, Alan? There's something about one of the sounds has something to do with angels, but I can't remember what it is.
No, I didn't have a good demo of all the different sounds. I just heard about it.
I'm going to say it could be chickens, it might be sheep, who knows? But you know, you turn it on. Well, it's like the cowbells in Ringing Room that you don't expect the sound of, except more so. You know, which is entertaining at times, certainly. I mean, it can be fun if you have somebody who knows how to record and upload the recorded files and everything, which we don't all have. Go ahead.
Oh, to circle back, I did want to let you know, Quilla, I just tried the thing with the moving ringers,
Right.
and I have to press the button when I want my bell to sound. The two frozen ringers I was ringing, 2 moving ringers that I had froze, but the other 4 worked. and there was no big delay. But I will tell you, when I switched to moving ringers, it said you should change these 2 settings before you go to
Yes.
moving ringers.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
which I've done when I've
But,
tried
but it
it.
seems to work on mine. I can demo it if you want me to.
Yeah, well, and it maybe it's been improved. I don't know. Well, I don't know if we can tell. Well, you could demo it. Before you do, one thing I wanted to talk about also, because which I asked Ellen. So we've talked about the software, and we've talked about the fact that there's hardware involved and that there are sensors. And historically, the sensors have been wired. So there's the way the simulators have worked historically is that there is a reflector, like a bicycle reflector, that goes on the wheel of the bell. On the frame is a sensor that is wired and gets power from somewhere. In our case, the power is down in the ringing chamber, but it goes down to our ringing chamber. And this sensor it senses when the reflector passes it as the wheel moves.
Mhm.
So the initial ones were optical. So they have a light, and which is why there's a reflector, it reflects back, and that's how it senses. There have also been some magnetic ones that have been developed, and specs for those, which are more sensitive to the distance between the wheel and the frame than the optical ones. And there are now some wireless ones that I am not completely sure, because I haven't seen one in person, although I've seen photograph, that you can actually, and that are portable. So there are some that are wireless. So you have a sensor, and I'm not sure if I don't think it's optical, but it might be. Maybe it's an optical sensor, but it doesn't have a wire. It somehow, it has battery pack or something. It then transmits down to another unit in your ringing chamber, which connects somehow to your computer. So that the nice thing about this is that you could go from tower to tower, because it doesn't have to be permanently positioned. So if you were going to a tower, having a teaching day at a tower and wanted to silence a couple of bells and have this, and you had laptops, you could easily do that without having to have wiring and things. So this is one of the other things that's kind of happening. And Bagley has done, he announced, I guess on July 3rd, that he is working on a wireless interface that's powered from a mobile phone charger or something like that. Anyhow, and the component it's talked to plugs into a USB port on a computer. So there's work going on to simplify installation and so on, which is good.
I would be concerned about latency from anything that had radio frequencies involved.
Well, apparently there's been a lot of discussion about this, and apparently there isn't a lot, actually.
Okay, good.
If it's done right. I mean, I gather, and we'll see more. There are some wireless things already out there, and there was, why it stopped, I don't know. There was a group or company called Belfree, BELFREE, that had produced some, and people were using them, but they are not making any more right now. They are on hiatus.
Actually, it makes sense that they might not have latency, because it's just a switch closing. It's not a data stream.
Whatever you say. I'll take your word for it. I mean, I read some of the, you can imagine some of the Facebook discussion about it that kind of goes, but people finally said, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. So I think that's encouraging, again, because it makes it much simpler to do, and it makes the installation much simpler. So that kind of thing is going on. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't know. So I guess I mentioned in passing, so we talked about dumbbells and using them with it. There is a company in England, well, I say a company, I don't know, I guess it's a company that manufactures dumbbells that they call the Saxelby ringing simulator. They are not, they're not cheap, they're not lightweight. They can be used, you can order, like you could order a set and you end up with something that is like a mini ring or is a mini ring. You can order individual ones. But for us, they're not probably, in the United States, it doesn't make sense. And there are, I think, people have specs for making your own as well. So there, of which the farthing bell is one.
The farthing bell already has 2 manufacturing areas.
Well, define manufacturing area.
Bill and Tom.
Yeah.
Fully licensed, I might add.
But they're
So
both in the Midwest.
That's right. But how did Laura get her dumbbell out to California?
Oh, that was easy. She flew here and rented a car one way and drove it 3,000 miles.
and stopped at all the national parks on the way.
Yes, she did. I think she and her husband and son had a really nice trip, actually.
Okay, I'm going to say it's noon, and if people want to keep talking, they can, but they could go ring or go do something totally different.
Well, I'll ask a brief question. I'm on Mac, so I'd be using Mabel, presumably. That's the computer that's free in the church. We have 10 bells, and I'm looking for a little installation kit kind of advice. I presume that the ringing world is the best source of information, given that I'm not on Facebook. Am I in?
No, what is it that your installation advice about installing the hardware for a simulator?
Yeah, just simulation. Well, to be implemented on a laptop.
In the tower, so that when somebody rings the bell, the computer makes a sound.
Yeah.
Like what Marietta has, Chris?
Yes.
Derek might be a good source on that.
The other thing would be to message David Bagley directly also for some preliminary information.
Here I am. I'm just switching devices.
And I'm trying to see. Let's see, I can pull up his email address in a minute. But yeah, and as we know, Derek is out of town right now. But so we should, so I don't know if before, I think it was before you arrived that Charlie had talked about perhaps once Derek is back in town, scheduling a Zoom session for Derek to talk about their installation. So
good, yeah.
We could put you on the list as interested in that.
Yeah, ringer2@mac.com.
I've just posted David Bagley's email address on the chat for Zoom.
Got it.
Right, thank you.
It changed about 2 years ago.
Right. And some of the links out there still go to the old stuff, so they don't work.
David was very helpful when we did our installation. We had issues and he helped us figure out whether Chris's issues or David's issue, and we got it sorted with this, except for the last one, which we stopped working on it.
Aquila, I'm going to jump to something else. So
Yeah.
thank you very
Okay.
much.
Me
Thank you,
too.
Tim.
That
Yeah,
was
thank
Hey,
great.
you.
Tim.
Great,
Yep.
thank you. It was very interesting.
Okay. See you all soon.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
So, yeah, you know, I don't know if anybody else has anything. If not, we should probably all go do something else.
Well, were we going to talk to Phil about setting up Abel or Mabel?
Well, we can. So I guess if people want to, conceivably, he could install it right now. I don't know. So Phil, you have the software?
No,
Pardon?
no,
Oh, okay. Well, then you can install it as we speak.
okay.
So
You need to buy the software from Chris Hughes. And it's
So-
about 22 bucks, I think.
yeah, the price went down. It originally
Wow.
was $40.
Yeah.
So do you know the website and stuff like
Nope.
that?
Nope.
Okay,
Let me
So-
get that for you.
it's Abel's, Alan will get it. It's abelsim.co.uk. So ABELSIM as in simulator.co.uk is the website that has documentation and information about purchasing and information about installing and so on. And
But what was after the period?
It's in the chat
Oh, I see.
just now.
Mhm.
So if, like, I already have Mabel on my little laptop here, my Mac. So, so I could use that. Do I need to have an interface then if I ever get a dumbbell, or if the little church down the street has a bell? The only thing that I can see when I go up there, and I'm not that knowledgeable, is it doesn't have a stay. It has a wheel, it has everything else. So I've been thinking, well, maybe I should look at, is it possible to make this into a change ringing bell instead of just a chiming bell? And then would I need to have an interface with that?
yes,
Okay, and
Where-
that would be the Bagley.
A number of
yes,
things. Yeah, you
yes.
could do.
And even with the farthing dumbbell, do I need the Bagley, Tom?
You need some sort of sensor. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Linda, you might want to look on your Mabel and
Yes.
look under the options menu and see if it
Oh.
has external bells and external switches listed.
Okay.
Because,
Oh, okay. Hang on.
yeah,
Okay,
because
so-
the Apple version may not.
May not. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that gets more complicated, but it is possible. It's not easy, but it's possible. What you'd have to do is, oh gosh, so you cannot. So a Mac doesn't have a serial port.
Okay.
The Mabel does not have serial port, but you can talk to me if you want, and you can make it happen if you really want to.
Okay. Okay.
Now, when you,
It has USB, right?
Has USB, right?
Right.
And so you can
Yeah.
put a USB converter, but then you have to, Mabel won't have anything that'll communicate with that serial port,
Okay.
but you
Right.
can do other stuff to me.
Yeah.
right, yeah, I
Okay.
mean, when
Mm.
the statement about Mabel says it doesn't have features aimed primarily at tower use,
Okay.
among
What-
some others. Now, one of the other things is that the fact that the bell has a wheel doesn't mean that
It can
it
be,
will, because the way the clapper is connected, the way
Yes.
it's weighted, all sorts of things
okay.
may mean it wouldn't, you know,
Yeah, it wouldn't do
couldn't
it.
do
Okay.
360
Yeah.
correctly.
Well, then
And
what
there
about,
also would be the structural question.
Yeah.
in that, in theory, a 360 swinging bell puts more
Yes.
stress, of course.
Yes.
I'd be surprised if it has a pulley on it too that gives you the hand stroke.
Okay.
But you could check that real quick. Do you know what I mean?
The other question is, so is that the same case with e-bells, Tom? With the Mac, with the Mabel? No?
Oh, I have
I
no idea. I
thought-
bet, well, I don't know.
I thought that e-bells could be, why do I think this?
Does
Emails-
Handbill Manager work on a Mac?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't remember.
Well, we could find out.
Okay. Alrighty. Those are just, some of the things I have to start learning. Being a remote ringer.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
What
I
are
think I'll ring off. I'll be a few months thinking about this, but I will be implementing this on a Mac, as I say, and maybe I'll have a good report for you by this time next year.
Right.
Hey, Chris,
Oh.
I'll try to send you some links to information that aren't on Facebook.
Great, thank you, Ellen.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk to you too, because that's the point of this, hopefully we can smooth people's paths if they want to do this type of thing.
Yeah.
don't
because
do it
of
all
the
by
nature
yourself.
of- Because of the nature of our installation, I'm really interested in the wireless path for sensors.
Yeah, I think that's a good call.
How to receive it in the ringing chamber.
So, Linda, it appears that Handbill Manager requires a PC because it runs with Able and it's,
Okay.
talks about Windows now I'm not, the help information I'm looking at isn't the most current, but I'm guessing that may be the case.
Okay.
Well, I can do some more checking a bit later.
It doesn't require a particularly heavy duty PC though.
Right.
We're using mostly cast off laptops.
Right.
Our,
Well, what
and
we're
that's-
running at the cathedral is still running XP and is really, I mean, it has no network connection, so it doesn't matter, but
Yes.
it is ancient and dying in various ways. But yeah, you don't need power for Able,
Okay.
computer power.
What about the possibility, I mean, the reason that I like Mabel is I can do a touch, here on my computer while I'm practicing.
Mhm.
Right.
What is the forecast for Ringing Room ever being able to do touches?
Well, you can
You can do it right now.
now,
Or you can?
but you
Well-
have to.
You have to call the Bobs.
Well, no, you can also, let's see, I don't know that Wheatley standalone, I think Wheatley standalone, I don't know if you can install that on a Mac, but if you run Wheatley standalone, you can use touches that are in CompLib and it will do them.
Yeah.
It is, I think it is non-trivial. And there's a point, I'm a little concerned that there's a point at which Ringing Room may get so heavy that it loses part of what made it work, which was it was really easy to do things with. And as more and more features get added, that starts not to be quite the case.
I will tell you that David Wilson is really knowledgeable about using standalone CompLib to ring touches from. So he's a good resource for that, I would think. Linda.
Right. I mean, but you need to have standalone and
Yes.
and if it requires a PC, there's a,
Yeah.
I don't know that.
yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, and I'm not sure. I don't remember. I'd have to look at whether it does or not.
So if you have a standalone installation of Ringing Room, you can actually get it to do the calling.
No, you get a standalone version of Wheatley. So the original Wheatley was a a command line. It's a Python program that you start from the command line and enter parameters. And before it was incorporated into Ringing Room, you did that and you told it that it was Ringing Room, I guess. And then one of the things you could specify was the complib composition, which I have never done that. We used it a lot before Wheatley was incorporated into Ringing Room. So we used Wheatley, but didn't do any touches that it called. So, yeah, and you
So
would.
is Wheatley is a standalone thing?
I mean, it's a program that you start up and one of the things you tell it is that one of the parameters, the format, the simple format will be Wheatley, and then the Ringing Room number, the number of the Ringing Room, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever the number is. And then using the right format, the URL of whichever Ringing Room server you're using, and you tell it the method in another parameter, and Wheatley then takes all the bells that are not assigned to somebody else. And you can tell it whether to wait for go to be pushed on the keyboard or to go after a whole poll and things like that. So it does the same kinds of things that you do in Ringing Room, but you have to specify the parameters of what you want it to do.
And then how do you invoke complib inside of there?
Well, let me see, having not done it, what the.
My understanding, I thought you
documentation
just ran, I thought you did something similar with that with complib to tie it to
You do.
Ringing Room. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so there's a parameter that says ring rows taken from a public from complibe. And so there is a parameter, so, hyphen comp, and then the number of the composition. And it will then start, that's what you will be ringing. So if you think of the parameters as being preceded by hyphen, I mean, this is standard. It's standard in command line, but I don't know what the terms are. So -- COMP space 65034, when you have all of the other parameters in there, will cause you to ring composition 65034. I don't know what that is. And presumably you've chosen a composition that's compatible with the methods. Although maybe, well, if you're doing the composition, I don't know if you have to specify the method or not. I haven't done composition. I haven't ever done it. So I can't speak from experience on that part of it. So, but once you've done that, then so only one person, so Charlie, so one person, one of the band has complibe standalone, and they can do all of this. And then if in the Ringing Room number that they have specified in the standalone version, to ring with that day, all the other people who have connected to that room, all of you are, Wheatley is ringing for all of you once one person has started it for that room.
So ringing room treats Wheatley just like another ringer.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, but that's sort of in my mind, that's a different question, kind of, because
I'm
But
just
yeah.
wondering about how they fit together.
well, I'm not going actually hypothesize about that. But I mean,
Kathy,
when you're
I see
in
still
ringing room, if
here
you're
in the Zoom
using
room.
if you're
Zoom
using
room.
Wheatley,
Is
that is-
intentional?
that is part of, if you're talking to it through ringing room, it's however many ringers you want it to be.
Right. But I
And-
mean, in terms of the way it works, it sounds like the Wheatley part is sort of split off, and then he's communicating with the ringing room server just like any other ringer would. Is that true, or is it more integrated?
It's more integrated because there's a whole Wheatley server involved, I gather from some of the issues they had. There's a whole Wheatley server that gets involved, and it's a little bit different because yes, he's like any other user, but he will wait for people
Yes.
and things.
Right.
So that, and the way he waits is not by he doesn't say, I'm in 6th place, I'm waiting till 5 bells ring. I'm pretty sure he says, I'm in 6th place ringing Cambridge, and I'm supposed to be following bell number 4, and I'm going to wait for bell number 4 if it hasn't rung yet.
Right. I
So
think that's
if
right.
5 bells ring,
Mhm.
but bell 4 hasn't rung, Wheatley is going to be waiting for that bell because that bell's wrong.
So if 2 bells get turned over, it seems like that would freeze the method.
Well, it screws it up. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it causes Wheatley to be ringing in the wrong place.
Well, he would not only, well, he might be ringing in the wrong place.
I mean,
yeah.
he'll be ringing, his algorithm gets messed up. Let's
Yeah,
put it that
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
But it's only broken for that row. If
No,
the bells are in the right, that's what I've seen.
well, what do you mean for that row? What I took Charlie to mean was suppose 2 bells cross.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm
So
saying.
they
Right,
continue, no, but they continue in the wrong place.
Right.
right. It'll break every row like that.
Yes,
Yep.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But if somebody says your bell's over and the bells get fixed, it'll be right again.
Yes, because
Wheatley will be right again.
right, because he knows where it's like he's memorized every row and is focused on who he's supposed to be following in each row, which is the way I initially learned to ring.
Right.
And so if the person I was supposed to be following didn't ring, I just waited until they rang. Which I think gives you, at some level, it may give you really good bell control, but that's about the only benefit. Or at least the ability to wait forever. But otherwise, it's probably not great.
We haven't done any fault insertion into our methods to try and figure out how Wheatley works.
Oh, we automatically insert faults when we ring with it. No problem.
But then trying to track down who's guilty is another whole thing.
We could have a whole session on
Oh, yeah.
fault handling and
Right.
how it works in the real world. And what is the best for a beginner band or for an intermediate band or for an advanced band?
That would actually be a useful feature for ringing room if it kind of kept a track of what had happened in the previous one and, who was off and who got swapped over when. Would be kind of a nice thing to have.
That would be hard to do. And I sort of agree with Quilla, like if you try to build that much functionality in a ringing room,
Yeah, it might be too much.
it may become unwieldy.
Yeah, too heavyweight.
I was
I mean,
actually not talking about ringing room, but real ringers.
Well, yeah, well.
Well, if you're ringing, if you have a simulator and you have it turned on, I mean, not necessarily making sound, but so that sensing, you are getting a file that shows you where everybody is. Because the striking file shows where every bell has struck.
Mm-hmm.
So that actually you could, if you wanted to really be overly, I don't know, OCD or something, you could go through that file and find out exactly where these two bells swapped or that bell hesitated, and it'd be really, oh brother.
Well, I mean, that's
Able already does
Able.
it.
Yeah.
Two bells at a time only, though. Only does two bells.
No, but I mean, no, but all of it is there. If you're ringing,
Oh, I don't know how you get to it. I only know how you do two bells at a time.
no, but it isn't a question of, what do you mean?
Well, when you do review striking,
Yeah.
Mhm.
it only offers you two bells to look at.
No, but if you
you're
look
ringing.
at, okay, if you're ringing in tower
Yeah.
and you click on the striking thing, 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Well, if you do that even with two bells, it brings up the whole, it shows you the whole, all the bells.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell you which, it only tells you one bell at a time on each
No,
graph you look at.
no, but they're all shown. You can see all of them. And there is a file that is produced.
You can
with
see
that
all of them, but
information.
only one shows the variations. It only shows variations for one
No.
bell. Oh, okay. That's not my experience.
Well, give me the file and I can produce a report for each bell in the group.
Well,
Hmm.
only if it has all of them, which in I believe it,
Maybe I may be wrong. I'm
does.
just
I
telling you what I
think-
think
yeah.
I think it looks like. So
but you're looking at it from running it standalone.
no, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Able. You're probably talking about Wheelie and Ring Room, right?
No, I'm talking about Able when used in the tower.
Okay, I haven't done that, so you're right.
That's
I
what,
don't know anything.
yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that,
Oh, maybe it does it for every bell that's
Yes.
getting live input. That actually
every
makes
bell,
sense.
every
That makes-
bell that's moving.
That makes sense.
Yes, yes. Well, and the bell is not moving, it still shows, except that bell's perfect.
Well, you can actually do a replay of a one
Right.
in, so they've got to have all that information.
Yeah, no, they do. I mean, because I have saved the file when I was trying to look at how do you get, how does this work for a Hawker kind of thing? You
Yeah,
can save
yeah.
the file
Yeah.
as a, what is it, CFP? It's some,
Yeah.
and so on. So the file is there.
Okay.
So you can actually save the file from a ringing, say a touch. You can save that file because
Right.
usually you overwrite it the
Right.
next time
Yeah,
you do
you
it.
have to,
But you can
yes.
save it before you do that,
Yes.
and you can keep that forever as a
Yes,
proof that you rang this.
yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
More.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever done that when we've used like Able when all
Right.
8 bells are ringing. I don't know if we've
Right.
ever used that capability, but it would be interesting.
Yeah.
You could do a lot of analytics. Like a lot of time we're ringing
Right.
something and we're trying to figure out, okay, who did what to who when, and
I know, which is actually pretty dangerous most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's good we don't know how to do that.
Yeah. It's thought provoking though.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's very, very big brothery in a way.
Mhm. Yeah.
This is where my question mentioned thoughts about real world adjustments to how the ringing is going is interesting, because producing results from a file like that is one thing. Producing usable results that take into account people's trying to make good music and make adjustments that improve the overall ringing if possible, that's a much more complicated question.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm, it's particularly for practices where you're ringing, everybody is ringing on able because you've tied off all the bells because you don't want to sound reasons or something like it. Something else is going on in the church and you don't want to be distracting. If you did come down to a confusion about what actually happened, that would be an arbiter of last resort.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe useful for people trying to improve their conducting and problem correcting skills.
Yeah, yeah, actually that would be because, well,
No, well, I mean, it tells you who's wrong, but that doesn't.
Oh, but if you could go back and listen to it.
No, but you're not usually conducting. I think for most people, conducting is highly visual.
well, it also, if you're actually calling the bobs and singles, then Abel isn't really going to know.
No, but he'll show. But if you know, I mean, you'll see.
You'll be able to see what happened.
You may not know. You still have to work out. Should this have been the call that I made here, or should I have made it another lead? You have to work that out. Abel won't tell you that.
You probably could infer where the call had been made because
Oh yeah,
that won't be recorded.
Yeah, you could. I mean, you could tell by what bells did that. There must have been a call made here. Oops, there shouldn't have been. Kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be an actual tool that would be very useful.
Yeah, I guess. I'm thinking.
If it didn't come round and you wanted to figure out why.
Oh yeah.
You could
well, if you had
post hoc analysis.
Yeah, if you had a bad composition instead of somebody, yes, which I have actually been in things with bad compositions. I have been in appeal attempt, multiple appeal attempts, where finally it was decided no. Matthew Sorrell and I were not crossing over. The composition was wrong. I mean, we had done what we were supposed to all of these times. So it was the composition. They finally determined.
And it kept going awry at the same place every time.
In the same vicinity, and it was sort of, so it's not like we're not ready for this.
I know ringers who would get very exercised about something like that.
Well, we started to say, we were really paying attention.